We're live. We're here. We're Caponaccio. Welcome back to the unnamed John and Agnew show. And that's going to be a topic on tonight's episode. We're going to talk about coming up with a name for the show other than the John and Agnew show, something funny or catchy or just more noticeable than our names. And
also, it always gets compared with that, like whenever I Google us in my infinite obsession with ourselves,
right.
I always come up. I think there was like a comedian named John Agnew, and all of his stuff always comes up, and I'm like, oh well. Also, I don't want to really step on his legacy, and so I think maybe something a bit unique would enter into this second chapter. We did the John and Agnew show. It was a good 4-year run, and then now we're on to the next thing. So we'll
and that goes to kind of explaining why we're not doing the Andor watch along, why we just completely halted that. It was like a combination. I have an explanation for it. Agnew doesn't, because I was like, oh, all right, because Agnew and I have done podcasts, home videos, just we've been making stuff forever. And then, we became adults, got married, had kids, had to take a little break. And now that like Agnew's like, all right, let's get back on the horse. I'm like, oh, I've like learned all this shit. I'm like, and I know Agnew knows how to do all of it way better than me. So let's watch Andor. We'll do a watch along. And then the editing of it and just the time, and it just made no sense. And it just made sense to just get back to what we do best. And that's just tell stories and talk about things. But you did this Chat GPT. See, this is something that I'm like, I'm going to get a divorce if I have access to this thing. And I was like, do you have to buy it or is it free? Is it like an app? I never got into it. And you're like, I typed in, what did you type in? Like a podcast about movies?
Yeah, I was like,
comedy.
What would you call what would you name a podcast that's between two friends who review movies and TV shows and stuff like that and tell funny stories? Yeah,
I was watching this comedian Chris D'Elia play with this thing on his podcast, kind of like YouTube podcasting, and he was like, write a joke about the Chinese spy balloon as Bill Burr, and then he read it, and it was like Bill Burr wrote it. Like it had the same kind of like,
like the rhythm and stuff.
Bill Burr always does like the analogies. He's like, that's like when your dog is eating peanut butter and throws. He always compares one thing to another. That's like all his joke. I was like, unbelievable. So then you sent this to me, and I didn't even open it until right now, and I'm looking at it, and the Ha Ha Highway.
The Ha Ha Highway. Yeah,
do you want to read some of these?
You can see some of it's kind of like infantile. Like one thing I've realized, but from chatting with it, is that it's like a really smart kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it still has this kind of like infancy to it. So when you ask it questions, like it can piece things together, but a lot of its answers seem extremely like innocent. Extremely
like almost like I thought of all these in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I thought of Popcorn Pals. I thought of the Spoiler Alert show. I've definitely thought of that one. Hilarious Hollywood. No.
That sounds more like, isn't that like a part of the chicken
like a comedy,
or something?
Or like a comedy club. The Laughing Room, like the Jester's Court. Like these are all pretty generic. I was thinking, see, there's a bunch of podcasts out there, and this was hard to explain over text.
Yeah.
That are like common phrases. There's one, good for you. There's one, congratulations. There's one, this past weekend. There's, dude, let me tell you something. There's, something's burning. There's Tuesdays with Stories. That's like not one, but there's we might be drunk. And I was like, what do we always say that is like also a common phrase, but like maybe we use it a little more. That's why I was like, what's that from? Because we always are quoting, and we're always like, what's that from?
That's true.
Like, I'm sure we've already said it tonight.
Yeah. I tried to get a few of those in there. I mean, I honestly had a list going on my phone since you said it, and I've been writing it, and it looks like it. I would, if I had to guess how many ones I've got in here, I'd say it's about 20, 30, maybe 30. I don't like them all, but I wrote it down no matter what. Like some of them are terrible. Like one was like elevator farts. Just because because it's like self-explanatory. It's like
that's so good. Yeah, see, gee, you nailed it. You nailed it. Because that's not super common. I know. Well, I
it's
don't know.
definitely not super. I mean, it is common in the world, but it's not common
used
as far
in
as
this
the
way.
podcast. But also part of it was also like I'd like to be able to extend my hand to somebody and tell them what the podcast is and have them like be able to receive the information without lowering my social status like immediately. You know,
if we were
an elevator farts
like,
might just do that. Like it's like, oh, you do podcasts? Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, what's the name of your show? I'll look it up. Oh, elevator farts.
Yeah, because that's half. I mean, you're just risking them not even checking it out based on the title there. That's such like a catch-22. It's like an amazing title, like that one title that was like free beer and hot wings. It was like that was the name of the characters of the guys on the show, and it's so
Like
weird
one
that it
was
would get
free beer and the
attention.
other one was hot wings.
I guess so.
Oh,
I think they were on in Philly. They were like one of the last radio shows that mattered.
I mean,
for like 5 minutes.
I struggled a lot with like the Finding the Line podcast. Like I went back and forth on that a lot because originally I was going to call it Agnew's Cabin, and I feel like that just didn't make any sense anymore. Like it made more sense when we were doing like Agnew's Mind, and then we were watching Lost and Jacob's Cabin,
Right.
and then we made it Agnew's Cabin, and it was like most of our topics were about Lost and theories about the show and stuff like that. And to be fair, I found a clip of us doing Agnew's Cabin like back when I was trying to do it, and it looks almost exactly like this screen right here. It's just that the technology wasn't there, and my computer was exploding, and microphones were like sending electricity at each other, and things would start heating up and start sparking after 20 minutes. And we were live streaming. Like we were actually live streaming on
Ustream, right?
Like
Ustream?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could stream to MySpace, and I don't think YouTube was there at the time, but it's just so funny how easy it is now to do a lot of these things. And we were really trying to get them done then. And we had both of you dialed in, we had almost everybody that we could dialed in, and laptops.
Oh, that's right.
Like we had no
cameras dude.
Or anything.
That's what got me so angry about the beginning of the pandemic, because I was always like, our production just sucks. It's just not good enough. And that's just the only thing that matters. And then Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, they're all doing it like on Zoom, like we did back in like 2011. I'm like, God damn it. What the fuck?
Yeah, it definitely just comes down to the effort that you put in. And I mean, I think the other thing is like, it's not really it's not always the production quality. I mean, like I listen to podcasts with people that have interesting things to say, but like their audio quality will be like crappy through most of it. I'm like, why am I still listening to this? So I think some of it's content, some of it's quality, and you have to find like some sort of middle ground. I think it's the setting the repeating of it, setting kind of the tone of what you're going to cover. And I feel like the most people I consume things from on YouTube and podcasts and stuff like that is like, I want to get their take on this, or I want to hear what they're going to say about this. Like what's really going to make me click their video is because I like their personalities, and then I want to see how they either tear something apart or build it up, or whatever opinion they have, So for me, seeing all those guys like come on and be able to do everything low quality, I don't think Fallon and them really have, like, that's not really fair to compare, because they could be horrible and they're still going to be broadcast to the, like, whatever people are subscribed to, like, ABC or whatever it is, like they're going to get blasted out there and they're going to get advertised on YouTube and they're going to get like they're going to be clicked in and they're going to get redirected and they're going to pay millions of dollars to get their video redirected underneath onto your front page. And like we're never going to compete with stuff like that, nor do I want to, but
no,
I think
but
the
it
point
was
is just to
like,
enjoy it and get into a flow,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Consistency is everything. Even when it's like going to the gym. It's like you don't want to go, but like if you have some sort of like routine that you're in and it works, just ride it out until some horrible family vacation throws it all off.
This holidays, man.
Dude,
I must have eaten about I've been averaging about 4 cupcakes per dish I wash. Like, I am celebrating the smallest things with cupcakes because we had a birthday party this weekend and we have tons of leftover cupcakes. And I have just been housing them like,
oh dude,
like they're sips of water, and it's just so tough. And I
feel
not
like
doing
Elaine.
Equal amount of push-ups for them. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
The ratio is not 1-to-1. Heather, we celebrated my birthday on Saturday, and we had a cake, and then my birthday was yesterday, so we had another cake. And I swear I feel like I feel like Elaine with like the Entenmann's. Like I just keep like as I'm doing the dishes or like making the girls food for the next morning, I'll take another sliver and then another sliver.
Deserve it. Well, like I've finished for the night, so it's definitely like a thing that just kicks into your head especially as a parent, because it's like once the kids go to bed, there is like a thing that triggers in your head, like it's like it's your time now.
It's all for me now.
And that was actually
gorge.
To wrap this back in. That was actually one of the things there too, because Fogel's comment was always my time, so I was thinking that it could be called our time, like excuse me, our time, like something like that. As far as what is this subscribe thing that keeps popping up? Is that
on the right track? Our time is but yeah, like this is a quiet time. This isn't a quiet time.
Yes.
Or something like something Led Zeppelin, to shove it back in the ones who held us down.
I feel like I just want to fly through a whole bunch of these.
Yeah, I know. Hit me with
it. This one I think is pretty good. Grinding the beans.
Gosh, if we could do grind the beans she does. That's even better. Maybe we expand that when we get huge. We can be ballsy enough to call.
We're new here.
Thought of it on a walk and wanted to text you, but I was like, I was like walking and I was like, all right, I'll settle. We're new here. Hi, we're new here. I'm new here. We're new here. Totally thought of it.
Nice.
That one's a contender for sure.
I'll put a star next to that one for our round robin later on.
We're new here. And it's funny because we're not. We're like, we've been here longer than most in this, in this technology like podcast. When was 2007? We were doing it in 2007.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't podcast like it, like we were recording ourselves talking about a TV show and putting it online.
Yeah. No, I mean, we were pretty early. Look, I mean, life gets in the way, right? And we also had full-time jobs. And we also didn't really have a way to kind of support ourselves outside of those jobs. And there really wasn't any sort of structure for, like, we didn't have our own schedule, really. Like, we were trying to figure out our lives and stuff. So, look,
I'm
enjoying where we're at right now. Like, enjoying that I can...
I'm saying all these things for the people that are finding us now and haven't been with us for the last 14 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I can't do math. So I'm just letting them know, like, this isn't our first rodeo, and finding a name is important. But it's also not.
It's also not. We could change it at any moment.
You Made It Weird. That's Pete Holmes. You made it weird. You made it weird. He has a great like song at the beginning.
Yeah, well,
Do you know him? Do
that's
you
the
know
thing
Pete
too. Like,
Holmes?
yeah, I know Pete Holmes. Yeah,
Yeah,
he did like he
sweet
was like an
guy.
HBO show or something, right?
He
Like
did. Yes, yes.
The I mean, the thing is it all becomes natural once you just start using it after a while. You know, like I
Right.
remember when we had like when I had agnewsmind.com,
Yeah.
right? And that sounded really weird to me at first, but then after a while it was just you would just say it all the time and it just became
Oh
normal,
yeah.
you know. So I think a lot of these just like once we name it, I think the cool thing would be to have something where there can be kind of like a symbol or a logo that we get behind and then make fun versions of that. Like that's what I'd kind of be excited about.
What do you mean? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, like I mean like if it was yeah, like a chicken. Like if our
Right.
symbol was a chicken, you know, and
Right.
then the chicken we could change
Like
the
put him
chicken
in
to
different
be
things.
yeah, almost like an NFT or, you know, like how apps change over the seasons or something like that. Like the
Like
little icons or whatever.
I mean Link.
Like Link from
Like
Zelda.
yeah, like Link was like this square, and then he was like, then he had like legs and arms, and then now he's like, this crazy sharp
Well,
elf
well, I mean, John,
who
I don't
evolved.
want to get into this, but they're actually different links. Not all of them are the same. Some of them are the
No.
same. Not all of them are the same. Some of them are two different iterations of them, right? So some of them are like Majora's Mask Link is Child Link from Ocarina of Time. But other
Okay.
links like a link from the Game Boy game or a link to the past, like they're
Yeah.
different. They just
Like
happen to
they're
be called
different
Link.
like variants.
Yeah. They're like
Oh.
it's sort of like a reincarnation.
So it's not the same. It's not like Bruce Wayne the whole time.
No. No, because
Weird.
there's
It's
actually
like
like there's a
Flash. There's
timeline
different
that goes
versions.
through it now. I mean, I think all of it. Like, I don't think they had it thought out. You know,
Oh,
they
really?
didn't actually like J.J. Abrams this whole thing, right? So
Right. Tarantino. No, J.J. Abrams is what they did do. They had no plan. They had no ending.
I know I was like half joking, um,
Right.
but
Well, all right.
yeah, yeah. So those not to get nerdy on that, but yeah. Actually, the new Zelda just dropped. I think
I
today
did
or
a
yesterday.
trailer reaction to it.
Ah,
I did a trailer reaction. I talk about how I used to watch you and Rye play. I was like, I understand why they sell out stadiums to watch kids play video games. Because one of my favorite memories of life is coming home from high school and you and Rye would play Zelda and you had like all this
papers.
paper all
So
over the
many
floor
papers.
with
It
like
was like
cheat codes
papers
or
and
I don't
those
know
like
what the
Reese
fuck it was.
balls. Yeah, you know, there's like
Reese
those Reese's
balls.
nibs or whatever they were called. I forget what they were called. We used to just
It was just
because we were
mini Reese's
18,
peanut butter cups.
so you could just eat terrible chocolate
Thousands.
all day and have abs. Like it was just
Like a
fantastic.
furnace. Yeah, they
Just
were those
burning
mini
through it.
Reese's peanut butter cup golden wrappers, and you would eat one and then roll them up in a ball. And Rye was gross and just threw it on the floor. Uh, so I I think I don't even know what we're talking about. But, oh yeah, that's right.
Zelda.
The
Yeah.
different iterations of the logo. So do
Oh
you
yeah.
mean like when you said NFT, I got scared because the only thing I know about NFT is that it's
Don't
a,
worry about it.
car,
Just
a
stay away from
digital
NFT.
cartoon.
Don't just stay away from it.
Isn't
Don't
it
even.
just a cartoon? Like a drawing of a cartoon on the internet?
It can be anything. It will.
It can be like a painting,
John,
but done on the internet.
John.
Tell me this. Answer me this.
No,
Does
John. Like I'm
NFT
not.
stand for
No, this is the
nifty?
last thing on earth I'm going to explain to you. This is the last thing on earth. Like on our deathbed, like when we're both dying,
Dying
and
together.
like yeah, we're like
Like
John,
John Adams and
and
Thomas
yeah.
Jefferson. There it is. On July 4th. At the age of 95.
That's great.
That'd
Okay.
be amazing.
Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic
That's
that
fun.
we aligned on that.
This is fun.
This is fun. Yes, that's at that moment.
Okay.
You can call me up on your laser phone, and
Right.
from Mars, right?
Hologram in.
Hologram in, but still bad somehow. Like still have it be staticky,
Right. I
and
won't. I won't have something hooked up. Right.
it'll be like the Empire.
There will be
Like
an
yes, we
echo.
have 3D images of people, but for some reason the audio doesn't come in very clear. Um, so it's old, but it's way in the future, but also old.
Right.
So you'll call
I
in
guess Star Wars.
and then I'll explain NFTs. I don't fully grasp them, but
I feel like I grasped them.
if
I
I had
just
to put
feel
if I had to
like
put them into an idea, it's the concept is that they're supposed to be unique. That's about it. They are
right.
unique. You can't copy them. That's the idea. And they're code that you can't copy, and you can give them to somebody or you can buy them and things like that. Now, what's attached to them can be a picture, can be video, can be audio.
It can be like a
Yeah, it could be a weird hand motion. Yeah.
GIF or whatever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well,
Um,
they're just like looping videos. Yeah.
yeah. But can I take a picture
I don't
of
think
it with my phone, and will it show up?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Oh, and one more thing. Does NFT stand for nifty,
No.
or is it non-fungible token or something?
You knew what it stood for. Don't.
I always forget it because I'm like, this is such a weird fake thing. It's like faker than the stock market. It's like, what are we talking about?
It's
I can
pretty
just
weird.
take a
Well,
picture of it.
well, I
It's
think,
mine now. I
well,
have it.
But I think this is the cool part about it. This is the good idea about it, whereas everybody ruins everything. I think
Right,
the
like
cool
every
part about,
invention.
like you could make something, right? Like you could make an audio track or something, right? And you could release like a limited edition of them or something. The cool part is if you were to buy it and then sell it, right? Like say somebody paints a picture and then somebody buys it from them. The painter gets paid that first time, right? But then what if
Right.
they become popular,
Oh, right.
right? So then all of a sudden they become popular. That $1,000 that they paid, that somebody paid them for it, is now worth $40,000,
Mm.
and that person sells it. Now that person who bought the painting and sold it, made 39,000, right?
Yeah.
The cool thing about one cool feature that's in NFTs is that you can always have the original author be part of it. So think about, in that case, they could get 10%. So maybe they could sell it for $500 instead of $1,000, right? They get 10% of that, or whatever percentage they set. And when the next person sells it, they also get 10% of that sale as well.
Weird.
So no matter what, it goes back to the original author for all of the sales for the lifetime of that painting, which is kind of a cool way. Like you could almost get residuals, or think about used books. Like as soon as somebody writes a book and they sell a book, they start to become in competition with that used book, right? Like why buy a new book when you can get a $2 used book, right? So they don't get any new sales. But in this case, you would still get a percentage of those used sales, which would be pretty cool.
That's kind of cool. It's almost like how these Marvel guys who created all these characters, and they're in the movies and their likenesses are being used, and it's like, don't you get more than just a ticket to the premiere and like 300? I forget. It's some crazy number, but it's like that digital part of the NFT makes it impossible. Not, it's like, I don't know, like how that all works, but there's like a trail to it always.
Yeah, right. But like there would be no arguing. It's like, nope,
Right.
it belongs to them.
It's part of the thing.
They made. Now, I mean, you're kind of brushing the line between copyright and NFT. They're obviously trying to still figure some of that stuff out, because like you said, I can just take a picture of it, or I can just save off the movie and I can have the cute little movie and I could put it on my desktop.
That's what I was thinking.
And
I was like,
you have it. It's not, there's nothing
like
special about it.
When the Seth Green stuff came out, I was like, someone stole a picture of a monkey, cartoon monkey. Like I can just take a picture of that monkey and I'll have one.
Well, part of it's like the uniqueness of it, right? Like, so way back when, like, there was a documentary about Pedro the Frog like that like kind of like squinged frog face that people use on the internet. It's like it always
Pedro the
there's like many
Frog.
different variations of it. If you whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it was stolen from like a cartoonist made a like a comic of it, and Pedro the Frog was supposed to just be like this
Oh,
like really chill frog, right? Like it was kind of
he's like the troll guy.
right,
Kind of.
yeah. So he wasn't, yeah, feels good man, right? So,
Mhm.
um, and that's actually the name of the documentary too. So if you want to look it up, it was pretty
I
interesting.
think I saw that, like the ad for it.
So in that documentary, they actually talk about NFTs before it was kind of cool to talk about NFTs. Even when the
Ah,
documentary came out, it was before it was cool to know about NFTs. And so in it, there's a guy who has an NFT that it's sort of like, I mean, it's very much like baseball cards or coin collecting or any other thing where you're collecting something. Anything that has an error in it or is unique. You know, like if you've got a baseball card and it has an extra print on the side, like they
I have
accidentally
a Shaquille
have like Darren
O'Neal.
Dalton like shoved
I
over
have
to the
I have a
side or something.
Shaquille O'Neal card, basketball card, and he's in the Orlando Magic jersey dunking on the cover, and on the back are the stats for this 5'8" white guy named Rex Walters
Oh, there you go. So
for the Nets.
that could be a big thing. Yeah.
It's worth $9.
It
That's
used
if
to
I
be
can.
worth 19
That's
cents.
if I get a guy who doesn't want to negotiate me down to like 7.
That's it. You have to find that guy and then negotiate him down. And he's like, I'm the only guy buying this.
I have to find the only Rex Walters fan. There's
Well, but the uniqueness is what made it valuable. So this guy in the documentary, he bought some like Homer Simpson NFT, and but it was there was a an incorrect spelling in the bottom of it, and so it was very unique.
a
And so it became
misprint.
like the holy grail of NFTs back in, I don't know, 2008 or something like that. So it was kind of, it was probably after that, but it was very unique, and I think he paid something like $40,000 for it, and people were like, "You're crazy," but then he ended up selling it for like $1,000,001 or something.
Oh
So
my!
of
Right.
course
It's like
he didn't know what to do with money. In the video, he's like standing in front of a Lamborghini, you know, like now all the girls are gonna get me. It's like that's not how. Like maybe for this week, but you're gonna run out real fast.
yeah, right. Unless you tie on a personality real quick, that's not going to last.
No one's wants to hear your NFT story for the 5 millionth time. Anyway, so that's kind of it, like the uniqueness of it, and then that there's some other features. You can actually put code into it, and that's actually one of the dangerous things that can happen, right? So
Oh.
I really wasn't prepared to talk about this, but
No, I'm happy we
but
did. It's just this is great for
but if somebody
the
like,
idiots out there who
well,
don't know
I
anything,
mean,
like me.
I've been a bit into crypto. Like I understand most of it. I will say that it's a very dangerous thing to get into. Like with all of it, you're
I
gambling,
heard.
right? With
I
all of
heard.
it, you're gambling. You can lose all your money, so be careful. But also, people are trying to take your money nonstop, like just trying to take your money all the time.
Well, it's the
And
greatest country at ripping you off
yeah,
in the
so
world.
well, it's not normally not our country doing the
Free.
ripping off. It's normally like, you know, Romania. I don't know if it's actually Romania, but they're the ones who ripped me off, so I always blame Romania for these things. Um, so just be careful. You know, nobody's going to give you
Oh, I'm
something
not
for free.
interested.
Nobody's going to ask you for free, and it's kind of crypto's kind of like being your own bank. So where you bring your savings to the bank, you put your money in. That's guaranteed to a certain amount by the federal
Reserve.
reserve,
FDIC.
right? So up to
FDIC.
250,000 is guaranteed.
Right.
You have no
Sil-
guarantees
Silicon.
with crypto. So if somebody gets your keys
Right.
or
That's
figures
the
it out, like
government doesn't back it.
they'll just take it. Now, I mean, what the government backs it with is that's kind of what the whole crypto thing is about. The fact that it's like it's backed, you know. So it's like, well, what does that mean? So you know, I am not a financial expert, but I would just say be careful of scams. Don't trust YouTube videos. They take over a lot of YouTube channels and play real video. So they'll take a YouTube clip that somebody put out, Linus Tech Tips just got hacked, right? So Linus Tech Tips just got hacked.
Oh, not Linus.
And they got taken over, and then on their channel they broadcasted like an Elon Musk video, and then underneath it they said, "Oh, Elon really wants to get this cryptocurrency off the ground, and if you send us this much, we'll send you back 3 times as much." So it's like a very basic scam. It's like a chain letter thing from back in the day.
Pyramid.
But they do really well. Like when you go to these websites, like this is not like your average scam website. You'll go to the website and it will be like really well done. And then they'll show like fake transactions going through, and it's like, oh, this guy got paid and this guy got paid and this guy, and there's a clock, and if you're ever in a situation where there is a clock running for you to make money, if there is a clock, and just take this as a blanket rule, whether it be on TV, whether anywhere there's a clock running, just walk away.
Yes.
There is never a clock running. Nobody is ever going to hold you to a clock. Like, just walk away.
Time is an illusion.
It's an illusion. Keep slipping into
the future. Hannah's like grasping the concept of rewind and fast forward and like using it, naturally in a sentence. But it's funny because she kind of pauses, and I was like, oh, I remember where there was, there's a little like double, like kind of left right moment where you're like, which one do I want to say?
Oh yeah.
Rewind, fast forward. And I'm like, just remember, forward is in fast forward.
The kids,
stupid fuck.
Wow, she's really tough on you. The we fixed up like a $2 tape recorder thing that was at the flea market one time. Actually the battery thing just came loose, so we got it working, and so they record themselves on it.
No way! Look at you.
But their patience they're like, "Where's the part of the tape that I wanted to listen to?" I'm like, "You have to go find it." They're like, "Well, why doesn't it just come to me?" I'm like, because that's not the way it works. It's like, you can't ask Google. You can't go talk to Netflix. You can't ask the Roku how to
can't copy paste.
There's no remote.
There's no edit.
You just have to sit there and press fast forward and then stop and press play. And it's like,
what the edit? Do you want to know where the edit button is? It's rewind it and do it again.
Yeah. and pray to God you don't record over the thing that you want.
Right.
Because there's no warning. It'll just happen.
Oh, God, you would have to guess? That's so fun. So let me hear more of these names. I mean, I'm really loving We're New Here. It's ironic and
yeah, We're New Here. I put an asterisk next to that. Some of them I don't. I guess I got into a Monty Python. I went with a wafa thin.
I wanted to go back and kind of watch all of their stuff. I mean, not everything, but
not everything. I mean, it's not all
Holy
gold,
Grail,
but the movies are fantastic. I mean, a lot of the Flying Circus is great.
It's so funny. They were the ones who like taught me to be patient with the annoying British accent and to like stick with their different kind of humor. Like, like their humor is like, it's like you walk by each other and then they smack you in the back of the head, like you catch up to it. And it's like Ricky Gervais, like you laugh, like you're like, oh my God, they're almost like sharper.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like different. Walking into a rake. Like there's no way you can't find the funny in it, right? Like it's so absurd. And the more you watch it, the more it feels like they're just like uncles that are just messing with you, like while you watch the movie. Because I mean, even their movies, like almost all the movies, just like end all of a sudden. Like
they have very like loose,
we're out of money.
Like,
sorry, we're out of money. Finish. Like shut it down. And it's just that's the end of the movie.
Right, like we don't really care. The 80% of this is funny. It doesn't matter how it ends.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, wafer thin. I was explaining that to the kids. Um,
What's that?
it's like when a guy he goes to a restaurant and he's like humongous. Like he walks in, he's like a balloon person,
And he explodes.
and he sits down and eats everything. He orders everything on the menu like 6 times over or something like that, and they're just like shoveling it into his mouth, and he's just like food. It's just so disgusting. Like
And
I
he's
don't even
getting
know
bigger.
how. What's yeah? He keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then finally he's done. And the major D comes over, and it's like disgust. Like the guy's like puking in his face and stuff. Like
Oh,
it's
gross.
so gross. It's so gross. But they just keep going, and it's like it never stops. And he's like, "Sir, like I've got a dinner mint. Like, would you like a little chocolate? Like, would you like it?" And
Yeah.
he's like, "No, can't eat another thing. Fuck off." He's like, and then he's like,
Fuck off.
but sir, it's only a wafer thin." And he's like, "All right." And then he like puts it in his mouth, and the major D just dives behind a table, and it's like, and all of a sudden he just like starts growing and explodes, and then he's like sitting there, and his like ribs are there, and his like heart's pumping. It's
Yeah,
like,
right. His
oh,
ribs. I remember my brother and I would like
hilarious.
just stumble upon that. Like it would be on like Comedy Central or HBO if like we had it that month. And that's it though. Is that part of a movie or part of like a
I
longer
can't remember which
thing,
one
or
that
is
was.
that it?
I think
Or is that
that's.
like Lithgow on the plane, on the wing? There, something on the wing.
I can't remember if it's.
It's like a short.
No, it's in one of the movies. I can't remember if it's History of the World or
History of the
History of the World
World.
Part Two or something, or it's and now for something completely different. I think it's a now and now for something completely different. Um, yeah, because History of the World's more like the like the like the Irish people. Oh my gosh, it's just
There
so
was a
like
History of the World Part 2 trailer that just came out. It's like either
I
a
don't know what
show
that
or a
is. I don't
movie.
know what that is. That's
It's
somebody
like
just.
Mel Brooks is involved.
Oh yeah, is that Mel Brooks or is that Monty
History of the
Python?
World is Mel Brooks, I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking of something else. Um,
But what's that from? What's
where
the
it starts
wafer
off with them
thin?
jumping like they're accountants, and they're just working really hard, but they keep pulling the cranks back, like they're adding numbers and then pulling the crank, but everybody's pulling the crank at the same time, so it looks like slaves like on a ship like rowing, so
Rowing,
they're all rowing.
right?
And then they revolt and they take their like they have like a thing that they put their notes on. It's like, and they take it and turn it into like a sword, and they start fighting everybody. And then they put out sails, and the whole building that they're in just turns into a ship and just starts going through the city. It's like such a long sequence too. You're like, what is like there's so much
And their
like
comedy to me
oh my
was like
gosh.
is like Dr. Seuss's art, where like a tractor has like a thing that comes up here and then another piece that comes up here and then it like it's like they just like keep going and it just keeps getting like bigger and larger and
Yeah.
crazy.
So
They're the best
it's just so layered, and then also it's just like
and so cheap.
it's also like almost every scene's like, I don't care what you think, I think this is funny.
Right. Yeah,
You
no,
know what I
they're
mean? Like, we're gonna do this all the way to the end, and even if it's painful for you, even if you don't like it, like this is happening because it's so
yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
I
then
love
and
them.
then they won't forget about it either. It's like in the middle of the movie that building will just start coming in, and they'll come in and like slaughter everybody and then like leave, and you're like, so whatever was happening in that scene, they just killed everybody, and then everybody's just like laying there dead, and like that's the scene. It's oh my gosh, it's so funny. Like I love Monty Python.
Right, like I see, like I want to know more of their stuff. Like
Life
I
of
really
Brian
only
is
watched Holy
fantastic.
Grail a
Yeah,
million times.
definitely Life
Like the
of
Holy
Brian.
Grail part, like the Holy Grail, where he's like, I think this is it, where he's like, what's your favorite color? And
Yes.
he's like,
Tim.
blue. No,
Yeah.
I meant green. And he
Yeah.
flies away.
What? What
I
is the
was like,
speed velocity of a
how
swallow
do you
carrying a
get that
coconut?
wrong?
Gee, I don't know. I
Um, Speaking of movies, have you seen anything recently? Have you watched a movie start to finish recently?
um
I think the last two movies I saw start to finish were obviously in a theater. Were Cocaine Bear and Scream Six,
oh
and
what did you
both were fun. The kid, the boy, the young boy in Cocaine Bear was so good. Like I was like getting ready to be like so angry
yeah.
because this kid is like a main character. I was like, no, but he's really funny and really like just a
Because
great
kid main
actor.
characters in movies are pretty tough.
I was scared because I mean Kerry Russell and O'Shea Jackson and what's his name, Han Solo Light. Uh, I always forget. Alden Ehrenreich. So
I don't know how
the
you keep all
cast
these names straight. I have no clue.
cast is good, um, and it's a horror movie, much like Jaws.
Yeah.
Not very funny, and they weren't like going for funny. Like there were funny parts, and I was like, wait a minute, I
Oh,
don't
I
think
thought
I'm
they would
supposed to be
go all
laughing
in
at
for
this.
funny. Yeah, I thought it was going to be all
I
funny.
was like, the ads made it seem like this was a joke,
I
but
mean, the
like,
title makes it seem like a joke. Like it's not like
but it's brutally violent, like especially from like the middle act and on. They get worse. They get like crazier and like
well,
God, like gruesome.
I'm sure.
And yeah, it has like a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was fun. And Scream 6 was good. However, I feel like the writer doesn't understand how knives work.
Oh,
If you get stabbed once in the stomach with one of those knives,
yeah.
you're done. You're
Yeah.
not running or climbing or jumping.
Those are some that's where the organs are. Like you're getting disemboweled.
Yeah, like everything all of a sudden stops working if you get stabbed.
Hmm.
And that was like a big thing. But it was really cool how they did like a legacy of Scream and kind of tied this new group in with the old. And yeah,
Yeah,
it was fun.
the only things I've watched beginning to end, and I haven't finished the one where I've been a few TV shows. I mean, I guess I watched the everything
Everywhere all at once.
everywhere all at once. That was fun. I don't think it was like the most amazing movie. Like I don't feel like whatever theme it was trying to do quite got there. Like at the
Yeah.
end, I didn't feel like it resolved itself very well. Like whatever it was trying to teach me, like I get that the pieces of the end scene, like whatever like there were little parts in the earlier in the movie that play out in the last few steps of the end scene, which I enjoyed. I thought that was I'm like very good. Okay, I'm starting to see where these things connect.
It was a great line. Great line by Short Round there where he's like, you know what? After all this, laundry and taxes doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, right. I
I
mean,
was like, oh,
I got it. Yeah, and he was fantastic, and I thought
yeah, he was so good fighting.
everybody, I would say except for the daughter was great. The daughter just kept pulling me out of it. I don't know what
I
she was
knew
doing.
you. I knew you'd hate the daughter
Yeah,
because I didn't. It's not that I hated her. I just saw
I
her
don't hate
acting
her,
the
but
whole time.
yeah,
I
she was
saw her
acting.
acting. I was like, you're really
I think maybe it was like the caliber that was
over it
around her
doing it.
too. Like maybe it's not fair, like
Oh,
like the caliber of
big.
everybody else's acting, like the commitment from Jamie Lee Curtis for her role, like she was all
She would have been
in.
scary.
Like I mean, I feel like
She was scary.
when they say cut, I don't feel like she would have ended whatever. Like she was
She
in
was
the
so
mode. Like
good with the wrist protector, which is
yeah,
a pet peeve
all
of
of it,
mine.
all of it
Speaking of
was just
which,
perfect commitment. So the things I did watch, the shows I did watch were I watched two animated shows. One was Primal, which was it's kind of like a silent cartoon. So
Oh, I love those.
it's a caveman.
Kind of like Max. Max
Um,
wasn't silent, but it kind of was. Like they barely ever
you
spoke.
talking about like Liquid Television, Max?
Yeah, the purple guy.
The Max. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. With two X's. Um,
Hmm.
sorry. For some reason, the other kids show, uh, Mad Max, where he'd like put on the cap and like get superpowers.
Oh,
It was like
right.
a Saturday
Yeah.
morning cartoon. Anyway,
Not
um,
Fury Road.
yeah, no, this was really good. I would put this up with um, like just some of the old silent films because they have to each episode they have to depict what happens and nobody says anything.
Right, like Star
So
Wars.
I felt like it was really it surprised me a lot. I didn't know what was going to happen next, and oftentimes the thing that happened was not what I was expecting. So I really enjoyed
Ah,
that.
that's my favorite.
Um, there
Throw
was
me curveballs. I don't
there,
care.
they could also, I think they could give some lessons to Marvel as far as
Yeah.
fluctuating power levels, because I think you're constant. Anytime that they brought you into a scene where you're like, all right, like he's got this, they would always add some little twist into the fight or into something that would kind of make you go, uh oh, now like your mind was constantly going between like either he's going to own everybody or he's going to be completely dead. Like this is the last scene.
Yeah,
Um,
I know. Like Shang-Chi, like when he's fighting his dad, wouldn't it have been cool if when you thought he was going to blow his dad away, something like that they planted earlier in the movie, his dad like activated and he couldn't, like they don't do that anymore. It's just like knockout punch,
yeah, that
game over.
whole scene
Yeah.
just seemed weird and like video gamey
I was
in
like, cool. He did the
Shang-Chi.
Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
They're
But
doing
again, you
so
didn't
many
know
fan
what he
service
had
things.
powers to do, so it was kind of like you could just make it up. But this is
Speaking of Marvels and speaking of movies I've seen, I wanted to talk to you about this. I saw a movie in 4DX for the first time. Have you ever seen a movie in a 4DX
does that
theater?
mean like all the characters have sex all of a sudden?
No, no. You
Oh, you mean
you
like
just it
the like a
moves
comfortable movie theater type thing? Oh, it moves.
4D. Like
It
you don't.
sprays you
It's
with
not just
water
like 3D, but yes, you do get sprayed with water.
and it has
Mist comes flying in.
scents. Oh, that's cool.
Anytime there's action and like the beginning of Ant-Man, they all get like they're getting sucked into that quantum realm for like a good 5 minutes before everybody's all the way in, and then they're all falling down and he's catching her and landing and getting huge. I was like, my soda's gonna spill, half of my popcorn's gone. I'm 41 years old, 42 now, and my back is killing me. And guess what? They do it during the trailers, and they played Shazam and Guardians of the Galaxy before it. So, but by the time Ant-Man started, my back was fucking killing me. I was like, I hate this.
I thought it's supposed to be like this like super comfortable like recliner. Like you're supposed to be like.
No, no, no.
I
That's
think they're
that's the
missing the
eye
point. I
pick.
think they're missing the point. They should just put in massage chairs and just let me get a massage while I'm in it. Like even the reclining ones. Like I remember when I was in, I forget where I was, like Massachusetts or maybe in Denver or something like that. I was out at some place I'd never been before, and I
Denver.
was going to a movie that nobody else was going to. It was probably Ant Man and the Wasp, but like on like
Uh,
the eighth week of it,
right,
like on
right.
a Tuesday, like
Yeah,
nobody's there. Like I had the whole theater to myself,
it's the
and I had
best.
a full recliner, and it was really hard to stay awake because it was just like I was just so comfortable. I'm like I could just nap here. They're gonna find me in the morning. Like nobody's gonna think they have to clean up.
That was almost me. That was almost me. Father's Day, Heather let me do a double feature. I saw Jurassic World 3 and Top Gun in the same day. It was
Hopefully in that order. Yeah, I didn't see Top Gun yet, but I've heard it's good.
No, I saw Top Gun first, and then I saw Jurassic World. Yeah, Top Gun was fun. Uh,
There's nothing that would make me think that Jurassic World was good. I can't just.
Dude, the only thing good about it was that those characters were on the screen again. Like the whole story was like just silly. It
I
was like
mean,
they were like, I'm like, just do the Godzilla thing. But no, the dinosaurs like adapted and they were like, man, it's cool. They
yeah.
stay there and This is it. Now there's bugs. The bugs were the main villain.
Ooh, Bug World.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
Right.
make bugs gross. I mean, I could see
Jurassic World.
Bug World would be interesting, but
Buzz.
don't sell it as Jurassic World. Like make it Bug World. I'm sure some
It
like
was pretty. It was kind of cool. Like the bugs didn't eat certain fertilizer. Like the people that like funded Jurassic Park,
okay.
they made fertilizer, and
Ah,
it was like a crop thing. I know, dude, it gets so annoying. But again, Goldblum, Laura
this is
Dern,
turning. It sounds like that
Sam Neill.
old. It sounds like that old game that you'd go over to somebody's house and they didn't have any normal board games, but they had that stock game where like people would have like stocks of corn or something like that, and you'd have to sit at the table and pretend you're like stock traders with everybody, and you're like,
Yes.
this is like a job. Like we're
Like this can't be
playing.
it. This
Like
can't be it, right?
this can't be what we're doing tonight, right? Like we're doing something else, right? Like I do not want to play this stock
We
game.
don't have to
That's what
play a
it sounds
game.
like. It sounds like a CNN report that I have to sit through, and it's like dinosaurs chomp. I
And
came here to see dinosaurs bite the heads off people.
dude, and they left it on such a weird, like mysterious cliffhanger in the second one. That clone girl and the dinosaurs are now freed,
Yeah,
and they just kind of like jump over that. I fucking hate it when movies do that. They leave you on something that where you're like, "Oh, I can't wait for them to fucking dig into this in the finale of the trilogy." And in the first 2 minutes, they skip over all that stuff. They're like, well, yeah, but dinosaurs are here now and everything's cool.
we've had on some
Pterodactyls,
stairs. Yeah,
pterodactyls live in the Grand Canyon. It's fine. I'm like,
because that's where they would go, John. That's where they would
yeah,
go if they got
right,
free. They'd go to the Grand Canyon
probably
because
water,
because
fish.
I guess there's air there or something. I have no clue. Like,
But but Ant Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. I'm so when they last week. Big news came out of Marvel Studios. They fired someone who's been there since for like 17 years, since like day one. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but
it's not
she
like I
was
would
in
have
charge. She
it.
was in charge. No, she was in charge of. She oversaw VFX. Like that's how high up she was.
Okay.
And in the past like year and a half, there's been like little reports and whispers that like Marvel is crazy and overworks the shit out of these IT companies that they hire to do all their effects, their graphics,
Yeah, I could see
because what
that.
they get into like a bidding war with other companies, and obviously Marvel will scoop up the lowest bidder and just work the crap out of them, and then they have these deadlines, so then they got to work like a double time. I completely understand because of you. Like you're like, I was up till 4 a.m. making like this video,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is a movie where they have to create
Well,
the
they're doing like
quantum
the
realm.
effects. Like I remember I made that video for your birthday, right? For the DC trailer where I made Ruby Wonder Woman, right?
Right.
The
Oh yeah.
I don't think I ever
That's good.
explained this to you, but making the lasso, like she threw a jump rope around me, right? That I don't even know what it was. 1 second clip
Yeah.
took me
I
like
can't even
4
imagine
weeks to do. Like because each frame you have to
every
like
frame.
move. Like I didn't have it. If I could redo it, I would have like gotten a green rope that you could rotoscope or something. Like there's a lot of different ways to do it, but like if you have to do something by hand, which I would think maybe they don't have to do everything by hand, but it seems like in those movies they have to draw a lot. So it's like you've
Dude.
got so many different layers that you have to do. And then if they say like, no, do this now, like do this thing different, or redo it. Like if you would have, if I would have sent you that video and you would have said like, no, redo, you missed a part of the lasso. Like
Right.
I would have, like I would just quit. Like I'd be like, no, I'm never going to touch this thing ever. Like I'm never touching that video ever again. Whatever I made, that's good enough. Like I'm not touching it. And it's
Dude.
just, I can't imagine. I can't imagine.
And so the weird thing is, and nobody thinks about this, they they introduced Thanos. They showed his face for the first time at the end of Avengers, which I think came out in 2012.
Yes.
And then
I
you
actually just
don't.
rewatched that.
Then they had fucking 6 years to make him look like they already had started, drawing him, I guess, or whatever, like making him.
Right.
And then they had until he showed up in Infinity War. This Ant-Man the quantum realm that they're in, Agnew, it was like they were on a stage and not like the volume, like for Mandalorian, how sometimes you're like, I can see it. This was so obvious. Like it looked like we were at LaSalle watching Of Mice and Men. It was so bad. The background was so bad. I was like, there's no way they looked at this and were like, yep, it looks great. It was terrible. It looked so bad. And that's what all the complaints were about. I was like, okay, good. I'm not insane. Because I'm watching it and I'm like, this is not a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
pumped this thing out.
I haven't seen it, but it's pretty hard to avoid what it's about and like what the downfalls were of it. I mean,
And like they did reshoots in January and the
but they're
movie came
churning
out in
stuff out like so
February.
crazy. Like I gave up after a while. I'm like,
And that's
I'm not
what
watching She-Hulk. I'm not watching like whatever the next thing is. Like,
in
it's
20 oh
exhausting. You
She-Hulk
can't.
She-Hulk was funny. In 2020 Bob Iger retired and this Bob Chapek guy took over and was like he's like I want uh 10 things from Marvel a year, be it movies or shows, 10 things a year. And that's what caused this like big fast forward. And then they fired Bob Chapek and Bob Iger came back and he's like 2 of each a year.
Yeah, I mean, like part of it's the suspense. I mean, like
And just the time on the graphics, man, like it can just take you out and ruin the whole thing for you if you're like, I see how you made this.
especially when that's all of it, right? Like especially when that is
The whole thing.
like the whole thing. Like the second Ant-Man movie, the Ant-Man and the Wasp, like that was kind of fun because it was just like their,
Yeah.
their own. I mean, it was kind of weird with like the ghost thing, but it was kind of just a bit more, like
It was a
learning a
palate
little bit about
cleanser.
their history, and it was like fun Matchbox cars and
Yeah.
little
When she
interesting things
flips
about
around the
shrinking,
knife.
Yeah. So it like through the Pez dispenser, and it was like a big
Yeah.
kid. Like I don't know. That's and like when he got on the one flatbed and like just
The
started
truck,
using it
right.
like kind of like a skateboard. Like
Yeah.
that like that's the interesting part. Like if scenes like that don't look perfect, you kind of forgive it because it's like, oh, that's fun. Like that's a fun idea that they made happen there. But yeah, when you just rush these things out, it's like all of it just feels disconnected. Like I just don't. It's just not fun. Like I don't think it has anything to do with like
No.
the comics or the stories or because it's after Infinity War. Like there's plenty that they could
Endgame.
do after Infinity War, but that was just what.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I think, I bet, looking back after something, I don't know. But like the whole last series of shows and movies were everybody being like, holy shit, like half the people were gone for 5 years and then they all came back. And, 5 years is a long time. Like everybody like kind of moved on. Like even in She-Hulk, I think there was like, or no, maybe it was Falcon and Winter Soldier. It was like there was groups against the people that came back that got like blipped back. I'm like,
Oh
that was
yeah,
kind of
it was
cool.
about real estate, right? Like it was about
Yeah,
what
like all of a
happens to the
sudden,
people
like
that get kicked out of their houses once they moved in to the people that got
yes,
blipped, right? Yeah, which
like even Aunt May, she's like, if you listen at the beginning of the second Spider-Man movie, she's like, and the weirdest thing was when all of a sudden I'm here and someone else is in my house, and then like they move away. It's just like, oh shit! Like the people that came back, it was like, life kept going, and we kind of like adjusted.
yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of a cool concept. It could keep things kind of fragile, going into
Right.
that phase, like you could just keep it that things can't operate as quickly as they used to because this thing happened, right? And now everyone's like adjusting. And I feel like you could just write out a list of all the crazy things that could happen because of that. Like, if it was me and I was trying to come up with a story based on that, like I would go to like professors in colleges and be like, what do you think would happen
What would it be like?
if everybody left and then everybody came back? Like I would go to a physics professor and be like, how does this work? Like when the mass of the earth just changed and then just came back all of a sudden, like what
See,
happened
that's what was
to the
cool.
oxygen? Like what happened to the, like you could make so many cool smaller stories about it.
That's what I loved about the Eternals. It was like, oh shit, like Thanos slowed this thing hatching out. And then we actually, our Iron Man, caused it to like happen
Yeah,
for
like
it to like, pop out. At least it like had it was connected somehow.
yeah. Yeah, that was a bit connected. I'm sorry, I could not get into Eternals. I couldn't get into.
I loved it.
I've been on like a downturn for all of the Marvel stuff. I cannot even the Spider-Man movie, which I really enjoyed. I didn't realize it until I played it for my parents because I was like, this is really fun. Like that we were doing the endless deciding what we're gonna watch on
Oh,
TV
geez.
thing, which is just so
The worst
painful,
thing ever.
right?
That's why I go to the
So
movies by myself.
so I was like, how about Spider-Man? Like Spider-Man's cool. Spider-Man from the 60s. Yeah, I know Spider-Man, so we'll put on Spider-Man. It'll be fun. Like everybody
Spider-Man.
knows Spider-Man, right?
Spider-Man.
So
He's the most recognized, number 2 recognized superhero in the world, as
who's
far as the
number
internet
one?
is concerned.
Is it Superman?
Batman.
Batman's more recognizable than Superman? Really?
Superman's like below. It's like Iron Man's above Superman
That's surprising. I mean, I would put Spider-Man
today.
above Batman.
It's like they showed kids the symbols. They showed like 5-year-olds the symbols, and every kid knew Batman. 9 out of 10 knew Spider-Man. 6 out of 10 knew Superman.
Okay, I could see that based on the logos. Yeah,
The logos.
based on like.
They knew Iron Man just by his helmet.
Yeah, well, I mean that's an amazing thing that they pulled off because Iron Man was so friggin' boring.
Dude, that's why. Dude, the whole thing is amazing that it didn't implode on itself. Like, do you know how many egos had to just get along?
Yeah. No, I mean
It's
well,
unprecedented.
look at right, like everything on the DC universe. Like how on earth, like that's everyone not getting along.
Yeah.
Right? Every
Right,
last
of course.
person, everybody who owns the rights, everybody, like it's just so painful. Everybody wants their dollar before anything even got made yet, right? Like everybody's like, "Where's my money?"
Yeah, they're like, this is going to change my life. It's like, well, it's got to be a good movie first.
Yeah,
Before it
like
changes your
why don't we
life.
focus on making it, and then we'll figure
how
out
about
what
you make it
everybody
good?
gets from it.
Right. Like, I think that it's in the right hands with James Gunn. There's a podcast where I said he should do it. I know he's not like the corporate guy to do it, but he's the mind to do it and make it good and not just like cookie cutter. And I mean, look at everything that he's made. It's all different.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I guess he's still got to finish out what like all these other projects that are still in the mix, and then I guess is he going to start over?
what's okay? So Flash comes out in June. That looks really awesome. That kind of looks like everything that's happened in DC up until now celebration because Flash is like running through time. Like I think we're gonna see some crazy shit in that movie, and done I think well. What's his name? Andy Muschietti's the
I want to
director.
be positive.
He's no
John.
slouch.
I want to be positive. I'm just not. I don't see it. I don't.
No,
see
I
it being
mean,
positive. It looks like another tape
so
together
many
thing.
reviews, so many people that like I'm like, okay, no one's paying them to say this.
No, but look, this is where I'm at. Let me just say where I'm at. They're using stories like Flashpoint without any of the weight of Flashpoint. Like the whole point of Flashpoint, right, was that it was disrupting everything we ever knew.
Right.
About like he unraveled everything we know about the comics. Like it was a crisis event that happened quietly. Like in the background, and
Right.
then everything just changed. And it was like
Changed.
a little trip to like an Elseworld, but it was
Uh-huh.
also it broke everything, right?
Right.
To I just like Justice League, just like Batman v Superman, like all of these things lacked theme. Like they didn't really have a theme, and they also didn't use characters the way the characters are supposed to be, right?
No. So dumb.
Like they're not really like this isn't Barry Allen by any
No.
means. This is not how Barry Allen acts. This is not who Barry Allen is, you know. So it's really difficult for me to kind of connect with some of the characters because they don't play them. Not the actors. I'm just saying that the way they're presented in
The
these
way they're
movies,
written.
nothing matches, right? Like Superman isn't
No.
Superman. Superman's Wolverine. Batman's not
Yeah.
Batman. Batman's Superman, right? Like
Superman.
it's like very confusing.
Uh-huh.
Like and then Flash is like Trickster. Like I don't even know. Like
Right. Spider-Man.
it's more like maybe like Wally West or like Kid Flash. Like I don't.
Kid Flash. Yeah.
I keep trying to figure out who it is. For
Jesse
me, I think
Quick.
yeah. So it's really for me. It's just troublesome. And from seeing the trailer, you know, I think the captured Superman was actually like I remember like reading the captured Superman story and like feeling like really sad during it, you know, because you know how powerful Superman is, right? But then you you see this like weak, like scared, like he just got experimented on like his entire life, you know, and you you don't you're just hoping through the whole story that you get like a glimpse of, you know,
The Man of Steel.
the Superman you know, but you're talking about that he wasn't like raised by John and Martha Kent, you know, he didn't go through any of the, you know, growing up that he would have to do.
Oh
He's been
yeah.
locked in a cage without any powers, like
Oh
completely
shit.
like devoid of ever seeing the sun, you know, held under a red sun lamp like for his entire life, and he's like insanely skinny and weak, you know.
Oh, whoa.
So when they break him out, like in the comics, he's like completely out of control, and
Oh
also
shit.
like full of anger and
So
full of like
sunny.
not intelligence either. Like he's kind of like caveman
No.
esque, you know,
Yes.
because
Like a baby.
he doesn't trust anybody, you
Like a
know, and
big, mean, angry baby.
yeah, but he wasn't like
Well,
full of like
listen, hold on.
rage. It was full of like
Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me reel you back in.
right.
Okay? Because this Flash movie, regardless of what the Flash movie does, it has nothing to do with James Gunn. This movie's
Yeah.
been filmed for like 2 years.
I'm sure that like
So
the last 5 minutes will. I'm sure like they're gonna tack on whatever his plan is in the last 5 minutes.
maybe, but I think also what happens kind of leaves it open. Like it's like doesn't matter because Flash doesn't ruin something, but he does something to what was happening before to make it not confusing going forward. I don't know, but I just know it has nothing to do with James Gunn. Then Aquaman comes out in December. Blue Beetle, I think, like in the middle somewhere
It's a
between
shame. It
those.
really could have been our swan song.
What?
Me and you as
Blue
Blue
Beetle and
Beetle
Booster?
and Booster Gold, like just traveling through time. You could be your own dad. Just would have been really cool.
Well, let me ask you what you think about this. Sidetrack real
I
quick.
think I could play a mean Ted chord. Like I think I could. I don't have to do much
Isn't
physical stuff.
isn't Blue Beetle like a Hispanic?
Jaime is, yeah. I mean,
There's
with
two.
well, Ted Cord was the original. He had the scarab, but the story is that the scarab didn't activate for him. So he was like an engineer, and he was able to kind of make some gadgets similar to like Batman,
Oh,
as
okay.
far as he was sort of
Like
like a
his
detective
powers.
kind of esque
Okay.
superhero, and he was Blue Beetle, but it was kind of like a very powered down. When Jaime got it, it became more. It got activated. It like actually like stuck into his skin after Ted Cord died. I think I forget who killed him. Maxwell Lord, I think, but I think he was like under.
Maxwell Lord
I think he was under brain
in Wonder
control, or
Woman
like he was
'84.
being like brainwashed or something, or being controlled by somebody else to do it. I forget how the story goes, but he dies, and then the scarab goes to Jaime, and then he gets like blue beetle powers, but they're like to the billionth degree. Like he shoots
Oh,
lasers, and
oh,
it's kind of like a somebody talking in his head type thing, which is not what Ted Cord had.
like Moon Knight or something.
Yeah, it's a lot like
All
that.
right. Well, I don't want to get into this now because we're already over an hour, but I want to leave it tabled for next episode. Um, do you think because okay, so say their take on the Blue Beetle is Jaime. Should a Hispanic actor play that character? And two, damn it, I can't think of two. If I remember it, I don't know. I'll shoot a separate little video and we can edit it into this one.
I mean, I like Jaime. I like that character. I like the relationship that he eventually has with Ted Cord as well. So it was kind of like an interesting mantle distribution. I mean, I feel like
I
that
mean, if
was.
your name's Jaime, you're not going to be a white guy or black guy. Maybe black.
I don't know. I mean, like,
Do you think it matters, other than if your name is T'Challa, King of Wakanda, that it matters what color you are on a character, unless like your race does play a role, like Miles Morales?
I mean, I don't see the point
Because he could be.
of shifting the race. I mean, I think well, with like Miles Morales, it kind of come like that's kind of the whole point.
It's
It's like
part of the character. Like,
yeah. I think like he's making his own way, which was like the theme of the Spider-Verse movie and stuff. I haven't really read any of the
Ridden.
the 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 Miles Morales Spider-Man comics, but I think it's like I think it's interesting. I think it should happen, especially in the Spider-Verse where it's like multiple like anybody can join in.
Bombastic Bagman.
But I wouldn't make like Peter Parker black or something. Like that doesn't really make sense. Like totally. There was
When they were talking about making Superman black, I'm like, that's just going to be hard,
well,
I guess.
yeah, I mean like
If he's trying to disguise himself, it's going to be different than a white guy trying to disguise himself as a reporter.
I mean like I think I forget there was one.
Kansas.
I'm trying to think of when it was. Or
Farm
maybe
boy.
I might be confusing it with Zod. I think like Zod was Superman.
Zod.
That was actually like very similar to the multiverse of madness. It was the Atom. It was the Atom, Red Hood, and
The Atom.
somebody else, some girl I can't remember.
The Atom
Maybe
was
like Starfire or something. And they went through multiverses to come back out. They would go to the quantum realm. I forget what they called it.
the microverse.
Yeah, the microverse. Right? So they went down there, and then they would pop back up because they were trying to find somebody, and they popped up in one world, and it was sort of like upside down. It was like Zod was good, and he was Superman.
Weird.
But I think he was actually called like Ultraman. So I think it was like a combination of like I don't know, Justice Guild and like a whole bunch of things kind of smushed together.
Oh,
It was
cool.
fun. It was fun. So you could kind of see those things. But I don't think that means you should change the actual characters that are established. Like I think I can get the point of it because there might be like a lot of white characters out there, and if ever like it's not really fair. You know, I think other people should join in, but also it's not, you know,
If it's just like the actor
well,
who comes in and blows your mind and you're like, I don't even give a shit what they look like.
well, I don't even get what it is anyway. Like some of it's cultural, right? You know, like Superman is Kansas,
An alien.
and Batman is deep in the city, right? Like,
Right.
I think the point is the human story, not really the
Right.
like,
Superhero.
unless it adds to the story, I don't see the point of it. If you're just doing it to do it, then it's as hollow as what you're trying
Right. Of
to
course. It's the
accomplish,
lamest of
right?
all time. Right.
So
It's
that,
so stupid.
I mean,
It's
like,
against art.
and also I feel like when you do that, even in the comics, I feel like then the comics are shallow and people can see what you're doing in them,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like it really comes down
Yeah.
to, you know, like when you look at like Black Lightning and Static Shock and those guys, like they're awesome. They're really
Yeah.
great. And tell their story, like make them even
Right.
cooler, you know, build them up
Right.
like Iron Man.
Right.
Like Iron Man was a terrible character. Like not terrible, but he was so
It
boring.
was
Like
not
the 90s
interesting.
Iron Man cartoon was
He was mid.
horrendous. It was so hard.
As the dork kids say, he was
Like
mid.
yeah,
So was Captain America.
no amount of sugary cereal got us to enjoy that show.
No.
So for me, I think it's just focus on the characters and focus on an interesting twist on the stories. Like,
Yeah.
well, one thing. Did you think of your second question? Because I'm fine with Jaime.
No.
I actually really like that Blue Beetle. Like I've read a lot
Me
of the comics
too.
with him.
Me
So
too.
I
I
like how he
just am like,
struggles. Like I like how he struggles to deal with the scarab. How he tries to. He's kind of like Peter Parker a bit because he has to like hide it from his
oh, right.
family, but he also has this giant like backpack thing that's, you know, trying to kill people and stuff. And he has to try to
Oh.
like convince it to stop. Oh, there was also a really good character who became
Blue Beetle.
Firestorm, you know, and
Oh, yeah.
he was awesome as Firestorm. So, you know, you could go that route, and that is an interesting one because it's like, in that case, it was like a black kid and a white professor in the same, because Firestorm is always like two people. So they need to know how to. So Firestorm's
Oh.
abilities were to kind of change,
Oh, yeah, that's right. He could like
change anything
phase.
into anything. Like you could change any molecules into some other molecules, but you had to know the formula. So you had to know it. Like you had to know what you were doing on the scientific level. And so it was interesting
Weird.
when he was this iteration. I don't know why I keep saying iterations tonight, but whatever. But the professor knew all like these amazing combinations. So he could make fire. He could you know make oxygen. He could you know change molecules into other things because the professor knew all this. Meanwhile, the kid was more of like an active athlete. So he was, you know, like, hey professor, like we
He
got to
would
do
fight.
something here. And he's like, quick, like change that into this. And you in the comic you would have like
It's
this
like
little,
Jesse and Walter White.
yeah, in the but they were in the same head, right? Like when they came together, they
Oh.
became Firestorm. So I think they showed it a lot in the CW universe. They kind of did it for a while.
Oh,
It wasn't
really?
like exactly like it, but it was, I think, the closest that I had seen in the comics.
Huh.
I did
No,
have
I
one.
don't know.
I did have one thought before we wrap up. Do you have time?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, and there's a few things I'd like to fix in the DC universe, but I had an interesting thought for the Batman. And I think this would have been kind of cool. And I think it would have actually kind of worked and made for an interesting kind of spin on a Batman story. What if, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, what if in that story you were kind of tricked and everything that you're watching in it is actually somebody in our world, like in the real world right now, pretending to be Batman? Like what if it was just some rich kid that people were kind of playing into, and he wanted to be Batman, and he wanted to fight crime, and he wanted to be a detective. But like the whole movie, you think you're watching a Batman movie until eventually you figure out that this is actually just some kid in our real world, because it kind of had that real world feel to it, right?
Yeah, it did.
Now I get that
build
there's
Gotham.
characters like the Penguin and the Riddler in it and stuff like that, but
Wow.
it would have been kind of interesting for those characters to kind of become those characters because this guy was pretending to be Batman.
Oh my
To
God.
kind of be like,
Like
oh, this guy
really
thinks he's gonna run
show.
it. Like this guy was getting away with this or whatever. Like, let me
Oh
start it. So then it
my.
becomes this like
Oh, he
actual,
thinks he's scary.
yeah, and it could be like Chicago. It's just like all of a sudden there's like this real world Batman, and you're like, well, it's not really Batman. It's like, but isn't it though? Like what?
Right. It's like
Like to kind of just
he's
play with
wearing
that
the cape.
line of like, could somebody actually do this? It's kind of like a bit closer to like Kick Ass, right? But also,
Yes.
but also, it would be kind of a good twist because it is kind of like this standalone Batman movie,
Right.
but
Yeah.
also it tried to go extremely realistic, except for the bullets, right? But
Yes. Right.
extremely realistic besides the bullets, and
Momentum of bullets.
maybe the amount of bullets that might actually be available in a city, but the
Right.
the repelling them or the physics of bullets were kind of off the charts there. But I
Yeah.
think, but I think when I watched it, that was one of the things that kept playing in my head. I'm like, I feel like this is going to trick me. I know, I wanted almost that, like when he's watching TV and he's watching the reports, he's always alone, and I'm like, maybe he's just hallucinating all this. Like maybe this kid is just disconnected because he seems like a loner,
Oh yeah. He's
right?
so weird.
And things just go wrong for him all over the place. Like when
I'm
he
a
smashes
nocturnal
into the bridge
animal.
and somehow doesn't die, but he smashes into the bridge, you know, like
Embarrassed.
yeah, but like those things, like he kept failing, and I was like, oh, like I get that they're kind of going with like a Batman Year One visual,
Right.
but also since it's so real world, like you could have played with the edge of it, maybe not actually being a Batman movie, maybe being like
Oh, this
somebody
kid
obsessed
wanting to.
with Batman, becoming Batman, and then actually creating a Batman story out of it. Like in the end,
Right.
he actually
Oh my
becomes Batman, and there's actual villains, and then
God.
you kind of leave off with this cliffhanger. You're like, well, what actually happened?
We have to
Like
make an insane asylum.
right, yeah,
That's crazy.
to be like, did anyone see this? I just thought I had a thought about that, and I'm like, oh, that would be so. That would
Am
kind of
I
just
going to
make
be
it so much
tricked?
much more fun.
That would be insane.
Yeah,
I don't even know. Like, I always think about that, like the takes on Batman. I'm like, where, how, like, what are they going to get to? Like, where are they going to get to where it's not two guys fighting at the end? Like, can it be some, like, I loved the end of Endgame where Iron Man does the like trick, like that. It's God, they fucking nailed. It was like the last second, like the split second before they pan over to Tony and he's doing this. You were like, oh, those moments are so few and far between. But I feel like they're in the middle of the movie. You know what I mean? Like they're there, but they're just not used the right way.
yeah.
And at the end, you're always like, roll the credits. Like the last like 7 minutes, you're just like, all right, I get it. I know where it's going. Say your goodbyes, hug,
I think
walk
it's
off,
well, but I think it just comes
fuck
down to
off.
the theme. I think it just comes down that there's no theme to it. Like you don't know what struggle they're actually going through. Like in Batman v
That's the
Superman, I have
worst.
no idea what the struggle is. What's the struggle? Batman's angry? Like I don't that doesn't seem like enough,
Right. Right.
And what's Superman's
Yeah.
struggle? Like he's annoyed by Batman? Like it just doesn't there's nothing that lands in it. And that was
It's
another
like
thing that I was going to try and shuffle around, but
it's like they're unaware of what they're struggling with until like more than halfway through the movie. It's like, oh, I'm glad he learned his lesson that he just learned he had to learn.
yeah. And they're like, our moms have
What
the
happened
same
before
name.
this? Why did you say her name?
So
Why
let's
did
be
you say
best
that
friends.
name?
Yeah. Like it just doesn't make it. It's like,
My mom's mother too.
and like I had said to you before, the use of the Superman theme, they keep trying to.
Dude, you called it. I want to give you your what did they say? Your flowers, your trophies, your
trophy.
props. Yeah. But like when they played the Batman Tim Burton theme in the trailer for Flash when Keaton walks up, I was like, ooh. And then I go, Agnew called that one. It was too soon, too early to play the Donner music.
Right.
Damn it, John Williams.
I mean, it's fun.
That was John Williams?
Like, that's actually him. No, that was Danny Elfman. But
Elfman?
But
I can't believe it was Elfman.
Yeah.
He's always so goofy.
Well, he was Tim Burton.
No, but wasn't Superman John Williams?
Superman was John Williams,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
too soon.
Well, it's just not the same. Don't tell me that's Superman. Don't, like, that is actually that Batman, right? Like, they're saying, like, this, hopefully, right? Hopefully they're saying that that's that Batman, right? So playing the theme for him is fine. It's the same guy. But to play the Superman theme for Zack Snyder's Superman.
Not even Zack Snyder.
Or whatever.
That was just The Rock. Just being like, put it in.
Henry Cavill, right?
Yeah.
Cavill. I don't know if I say his name.
Cavill.
Like
gavel.
You know, his Superman never isn't the Christopher Reeve Superman. Like, it's not. There's nothing to connect those two, and so to play his theme is or his motif as it shouldn't be. It's not fair to call on that. That tricks people, right? So to put that in the first Justice League movie was incredibly wrong. Like, I was furious.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. So
they did that?
Not in the Snyder Cut. They took it out in the Snyder Cut. But when Flash is fighting...
I never watch...
Like, it was so...
The Justice League.
It was beyond wrong.
Yeah,
because Flash is fighting this zombie Superman. And in the midst of it, they play the Superman theme. And I'm like, what on earth do you... I mean... Like, you don't even play it when Christopher Reeve was playing drunk Superman. Like, that's not the time. It's when he recovers, and it's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't even know what the hell just happened. Like, what? Like, did he change his clothes, or is he fighting him? Like, has he got himself in a headlock? I don't know what happened there. Either way, we were all really pumped. I remember being a kid and being like, yes, that's how you overcome alcoholism. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you just fight yourself in a junkyard.
Guy.
And then you come out and you're fine.
Right. It's about the self.
But the Snyder, like, I was trying to make sense of those movies. And I'm like, maybe they were trying to do something. Like, maybe everybody just stuck their fingers in it and screwed it up, right?
I mean, he got pulled away from the Justice League because his daughter committed suicide, and they didn't let him finish it, and they pulled in Joss Whedon, and he made it so weird.
Yeah. Well, for many reasons, like the plot, everything, but even at that point, like, even Batman v Superman, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense why they're even. It makes a little sense why they're fighting, because it's like they took down the whole city and stuff, and Batman ran into the smoke. Real cool scene. Love him running into the dust. Right,
good start.
That's very Batman.
Yeah.
Right, but. Besides that,
Batman.
It didn't really make much sense, and I was trying to think of, well, what happens in Man of Steel, right? Like, it's like two dads is sort of the theme of Man of Steel, except for that Jonathan Kent is like against him getting dissected or something. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, he's like, he's like, you don't have to be. He's like, you don't have to be anything. You don't have to be a hero. And then his dad from Krypton is like, you're gonna show them wonders. Yes. It's like, God, fuck. What are you talking? What do you mean wonders? What am I gonna do for them? What am I gonna do? What are you talking about? Trust me, there's this yellow sun. It's different. You're gonna be better than all of them.
You're gonna be so.
You're gonna be better, and you can kill all of them if you wanted to.
You can just murder them all. They're just bugs.
They're all gonna want to be like you.
And I mean, like,
be nice.
That could have been part of it, right? Like, that could have been the struggle, but I don't feel like they laid out Jonathan Kent enough as far as, like, what his theme was compared to Jor-El, right? And that could, like, I think they could have just kept going with that, but then let Superman talk. Like, let Superman
I
struggle
know.
with it,
I
and they just didn't
know.
let him struggle.
Please.
They're like, get on with
See,
the origin
that's
story.
why I'm excited that James Gunn is writing and directing the Superman legacy, and that'll be like I think it's the first movie. There's like an animated show in his world that comes out first, obviously because it's they'll draw it fast. It's like looks like cheap animation. The Creature Commandos. I have no idea. I'm sure it'll be funny, but James Gunn is writing the Superman thing, and he's been writing it forever. Before he got the job at DC, he was writing it because they told him like you can do whatever you want, and he was like, Superman scares me. I'm going to do Suicide Squad. But then he just started writing Superman. Just I don't. He didn't really explain why. He's like, I just started writing it because I had a story in my head, and he's such a master of dialogue. Like he's such a great. All of his movies, the people talk and obviously they improv and they make jokes, but a lot of times you get like a lump in your throat from his characters. So that's why I'm pretty excited. I think it comes out on his dad's birthday, uh, so I think it's important to him. So I have high hopes.
All right, all right. Well,
And I mean, as far as superhero things go, he hasn't really missed. Uh, so,
look, I
so he's
want
due
to.
to fail.
I really want to be positive. Like, I love it when I can get like a good superhero movie. You know, like I
I
think the
know,
last good thing I've watched that's been superhero was Superman Red Sun, and that's
but
just
what
it
was
was
the
just
last movie like live action movie?
that I enjoyed.
Yes,
I mean,
you enjoyed Spider Man,
I did really enjoy Spider Man, but
but then you
I
watched it with
also
other people.
realized that if well, I didn't get to finish the thought on that, but when I showed it to my parents, I was like, oh, this is actually not a good movie unless you are getting the payoff from Tobey Maguire and Amazing Spider Man,
I
right? Like,
watched it through. I watched it through Heather's eyes the first time, and I was like,
oh,
"All
this
right,
is
well,
bad.
what else? What else were you gonna do?" If she's aware of Toby and Andrew because I talk about them all the time, and
But
I
you
think
realize, like, when they come into the scene, they're like,
I was like,
"Whoa!" And you're like, "Why
I,
are you saying whoa?" Like,
I was like,
I know why you're saying whoa.
and they weren't even supposed to come in that way. It was supposed to be totally different. Pandemic, Sony with their crazy, they want the Christmas release date, so that forced them to reshoot Doctor Strange and introduce America Chavez a different way, which in turn caused the Spider-Mans to come into No Way Home differently. So the pandemic did screw up the plan that they had,
Yeah,
but the way that they like patched the road was like not good,
yeah,
sloppy. It felt like we made it. Like that's what I kept seeing in these movies. I was like, they're not in the same room. You're not fooling me, Wanda. You and
yeah.
Krasinski are
I mean,
not in the same room.
yeah.
Damn you.
I'll let some of that
Nope.
go. You know, like if you've broken the story though, like don't release the story. Like if it doesn't make sense, like I don't get that part.
See that Chapek guy? He was like crazy. Like doesn't matter. Get it out. Film this thing with masks on. Film Jamie Foxx in Atlanta and Willem Dafoe in France and make it look like they're talking to each other. And took me out of the movie 100 times.
Yeah, yeah, because their dialogue was like, you know, Clone Wars
I just know the
dialogue.
tricks.
Like,
I know how
are
to
you guys just
do it.
saying things?
Right. I was like,
It's like
it's
one
funny, but
liners.
it's like that was the charm of like Star Wars and Jaws. It was like they were all there, and it feels like you're watching them all in the same space.
Yeah,
When they're not in the
yeah.
same space, like it just doesn't. I'm like, this is a movie.
I mean, William
I'm
Dafoe,
watching a
though. I
movie.
mean, if the, I would say
He
if
was
there's
awesome.
anything for that movie, watching William Dafoe act was just
Oscorp isn't there, isn't here.
it
Yeah, he
was
was
like
awesome.
it was like giving him a. It's like, hey, you know that home run you hit back in like 1992. Um,
We're
do
gonna
you want to
lob
bat
it over the
again?
plate.
Like, do you want to get to the bat one more time? And it's like, yes, yes, I, you know,
Yeah,
and it was just like
it
that
felt
part of
like
that was great. Yeah,
it almost felt like, why do you need everybody else? It could just be Octopus and Green Goblin. I mean, those two are like the best. Like, let them have all the time.
Yeah.
It didn't need to get all clogged
Well,
up, but I guess
they were the best. I
Jamie
mean,
Foxx too. He was pretty funny.
if you go through some of the other dialogue, you're like, what is happening right now? But if you stick with those, like those two carried it. If you didn't
Oh
have
yeah, for
them,
sure.
there's nothing. I mean, obviously the story doesn't happen, but
When he's like, no dark passenger, just you, just me. Norman, no, what does he say? Norman's on vacation, honey.
that was
Oh
amazing when he came
God.
out with the spider sense, and he's like,
Norman's on sabbatical, honey.
sabbatical, yeah.
Honey. I know. And he took out his like teeth. He took out like whatever caps he wears or whatever, to have his like damaged teeth. And you can tell when he's punching him in the face and he's like, so good.
Fun. Yeah, like I mean, I enjoyed it being a Spider-Man fan who watched those,
But watching it through the lay person's eyes, you're like, this made $2 billion.
I know. I can, like it was complete
1.9.
nostalgia fun. Like I get that it's like that's what made up the whole movie, but
They nailed it.
I also ate 4 cupcakes tonight, so I will indulge if I'm given the chance to indulge. Like I'll watch Batman movies and Superman movies till I'm blue in the face, but I want them to be Batman and Superman movies. Like the one key thing of that made it a Spider-Man movie was that it stuck with the theme that we are Spider-Man and this is what we do. And this is the hurt that we have to get through. And we don't kill and we don't do like.
Yeah, it was like
it was like
all
the embodiment of the character,
of all the like the sloppy kind of just loose plot, stupid salute. Like they just find cures.
Yeah.
They're just inventing cure for all that they got. Like they didn't nail that bullseye. The stuff about Spider-Man, they crushed.
Yeah.
Like that part was so good and they knew that. And I don't think that they wanted to fuck that up. And that's why it was so awesome.
You could tell
they go back and watch them.
That they cut down the dialogue in those scenes to make sure that the dialogue was right.
Yeah. Like they didn't do too much. Even it's like you gotta have them wanting more. You can't overdo it.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed. I can't think of another one. I'm sorry. Like I'm trying to think of something that's recent that I've enjoyed. And it's coming up.
Well, Spider-Man was like less than a year ago. It was December. Yeah. No. Oh, it was over a year ago. Jesus.
Well, there we go.
We're
another year older. I will say this. I do have a recommendation.
I need to go watch Mandalorian. Oh, recommendation. All right, let's have it. Lay it on me.
I would never expect myself to say this. And this might not be a recommendation for you, but I am enthralled with this right now. Picard, season 3.
What?
Picard.
Did you just start season 3 or have you watched the whole thing?
I've watched the whole thing. You don't have to.
Okay.
I would suggest that you do not watch seasons.
Because I've heard good things. I've heard good things even from this guy who's hated 1 and 2.
Oh, no. That's what I'm saying. You're hearing it from this guy who hated 1 and 2. 1 and 2 were horrible. They were
like it wasn't Star Trek.
Terrible. They were so hard to follow. And they would just... I've never seen a show change what it was talking about for 7 episodes and then all this go, nope, now they're in a different universe. Nope. Like now they're in the United States in 2024. It's like, this is Star Trek. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing? This isn't fun. Like, I don't want them to be here.
31st century.
I'm here. I can see what's going on here. Like, I don't need them to be here.
That's what this guy would say.
Yeah, it was so.
They
dumb.
go to. They Star Trek. They trek through the stars. Yeah. All right, I'll check out. I'll check out 1 episode.
People. So this is like, yeah, I would say like it's been so much. I've been on like the edge of my seat. It's been fun. Wow. It has its flaws, but it's light years ahead of everything else that came before it. Like the first 2 seasons were junk. Star Trek Discovery has been junk. So they even like changed the theme. They kept like 2 or 3 of the things that happened in the first 2 seasons, and they kind of explain.
Right.
They remind you of them like right when they get going. So
Oh, okay. And
you
then
know,
they're like, that's all that happened.
the only thing that happened to him, and this is not a spoiler by any means because it happens within a fraction of a second in one of the episodes. They decide that he has like some sort of cancer or some sort of
Yeah.
disease,
Yeah.
and
I've
then
like heard this.
like within the episode he dies. Like they tell you, and then he dies,
Oh
and
yeah,
then
but
they're
then
like,
it's
and then we have this android body right here, like what Ultron had,
they
like
transfer his
with the Vision.
consciousness.
Yeah. So they
Right.
just like have that, and they're like, well, we have a spare, but it's the only one in existence, and nobody else has it, and we'll put you into it. But
So
but we're not going to make you 30 years old.
weird.
We're going to make you regular
Now,
old. Like yeah, it's like you're going to be your 70, 80 year
age that
old
you died.
self, right? And also it's also going to age. It's like what was the point of all this? Like
Why? Yeah. Right. Okay.
like you gave him a disease out of nowhere. You gave him a disease so
And it
that he would
killed him.
die. He dies, and then you put him into an android body, but he doesn't get like super strength, super intelligent. He gets nothing. He just becomes an android that doesn't have the disease.
He's
And
a
it's like,
human droid. He's a human. He's
so
just a stupid human.
so
Not really
like,
even bionic.
couldn't he just be him and just
Right.
not
It's like,
give him
why
the
did they?
disease? Like,
They
couldn't
were
you
like,
just have done that?
it was like someone's kid wrote the cancer angle, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna put your story in the show, and then we're gonna completely retcon it."
So they bring it up in season 3, but it's like, but then they also just kind of glow. I don't know if they're making fun of it, but they're just like, oh well, and you're like animatronic now, and he's like, yeah, and they're like, okay,
Right. But for the most
cool.
part, we'll kind of just
But for the
forget
most part,
this.
you're yourself,
All
and
right,
you're the
I'm
same
in.
person. I've
I'll
been with
check it
for.
out. I'll check it out.
It's way more fun. I mean, if you'd have
What's
to
it on
have
Paramount?
seen, yeah,
Peacock?
Paramount. You'd have to have seen like the Next Generation and know some of the Next Generation. So
I know enough. But I got to get up from the steel chair.
yeah.
My
Oh, how do you sit
tailbone
in a
is
steel chair? I'm
bleeding.
gonna send you a chair. I'll send you a
Heather's
rug.
like, use one of the dinner chairs. I'm like, they're just as bad.
Or at least
It's
a pillow
it's
on it or something.
it's like we made this room like a guest room, and because Heather's mom had to move in here for a while,
Yeah.
so I guess for some reason, yeah. I mean, I moved the desk down to the garage, for that long time.
Well, it's much better than the garage, but
Yeah,
you need
but yeah,
like
now my ass is
an
killing me.
IKEA pad or something. Like just get
Yeah, I know. I'm on a
put
pillow,
a
but
doormat on it.
it's like a couch pillow. It's not. All right, brother.
All right.
Great show.
Have a good
Great
night.
time. Love you.
Love you too. Bye bye.